At Stateline Speedway in 1957 named Ted Hauser.
Right.
And he drove at Stateline through 1959 and also had a car number 60. That sound about like you.
Well, I had a car, it was a Ford, believe it or not, and I'm a GM man. Floyd used to have a Kindle station right over here. Used to ride over town here. It used to be called Kindle, right there on the corner. And I think maybe he's the one that really got me started in the racing, because he always ran, and I would always stop in there and talk to him.
Is that something you grew up as a kid?
I grew up with a kid, you know, being on a dirt road and things, you know how kids are. We would race, or you get out there, and yeah, and I enjoyed it. This is good now. I didn't know nothing about racing, and when I got it, it was a 33 Ford Coupe. We got that car, chopped the fenders all off and everything, and I took the wheels off. I said, hell, you don't need no brakes. I threw the brake shoes away. So I went up to, on the other side of Dunkirk out there, I can't remember the name of the racetrack, but I went up there and I was doing good with it, but I was just learning to drive. Lloyd Thomas, he says, can I drive your car for you? And I said, yeah, go ahead. He come in and he ran it good. He says, holy hell, he says, no brakes in that. I said, no, I took them out and threw them away. He says, no, you need brakes on the track. So well, I took it back and I put brakes on the thing. So that was just during the learning process.
Yeah.
My first year, let me see, I'd have to go back and think here. It's probably in 55. Right. Yeah, Coon Road. I won a lot of races in my life. I won 11 features one time in a row before I lost one.
My word.
Then the reason I lost it, I had a friend, and Ford had a glass bowl. I didn't know, you're probably not familiar, on the fuel pump. And he took that off and cleaned it, and I always kept a old radiator hose fit up over that to keep from breaking. Stone fly and hit the there. He cleaned it for me, and he didn't put the rubber back on. And I was leading the race, and a stone flew and hit that bowl, and broke it, and I lost the race. Well, when they rolled me in Sherman there, you know, I think back.
How did that actually happen? Explain that in a little more detail.
Well, they like I say, it was out there, was the last race of the year, and we were experimenting with the rear end.
Right.
And we changed the gear ratio, and we went over there, and I was running smaller tires, and I was running third gear. And I was going by them all. I wasn't just gradual going by them, I was flying by them. Well, they waited on me till I came around, and one hit me and got me sideways. And when he did, two more jumped in, and they rolled me. They rolled me the whole, I don't know whether you was there, but they rolled me clear down the straightaway, and then after the car settled down and stopped, one kept backing up and hitting it.
Oh my God.
So, and that's when I come alive out of there mad. But it did hurt my back. I didn't know it till the next day, because I was so darn mad. When you're mad.
Why do you think they did that?
Because I was out running them, and they didn't like that.
Yeah. What was the reputation of Stateline when you started up there in 1957?
Well, it was a good track, and they had favorites over there, though.
Yeah.
So I was, I forget who the two guys were now, but I passed them all. They put me in the rear. I'd always start in the rear. And I got by everybody, and I was leading the race. Well, there's an accident, and they stopped it. So the flagman put me back to third, and I was mad. I said, no. I said, I am first. He said, no, you're not first, you're third. I said, okay. And I had a helmet. It was 3 pieces. I threw it in the ground, it come apart. And they were restarting the race. So here I am going around the track, putting my helmet all together so I can get it back on. And so I went back to third, so I got to get in the second place car. I pushed him 1 lap, clear around the track, and then when I pulled out and I passed him, I come around to the flagman, and I went like that. I'm number 2. So I caught up to the first place guy, and I done the same thing to him. I got right against him, I pushed him around the track, and then I pulled out and passed him, and I come around to the flagman, and I held up my finger. I'm number 1 now. And I won that race. Mostly over there at the state line, it was mostly who could hold down on the inside. because the cars, you know, you get the better traction and things.
Reputation as a kind of driver.
You know what they call me on the top of my car? What they put? He probably remembers. Timid Ted.
Timid.
Timid Ted.
Having great success with jalopies. Then you drove late models for a couple of years in 57, 59.
Right.
Was there, did you have much success in the late model world?
Couldn't keep the engine together. I don't know why. We just couldn't keep that engine together. We had the engine, but it just wouldn't stay together. It wasn't the top end that went, it was the bottom end that always went.
Right.
Emery Man was a tough guy to get by. He was a tough guy. He was one of the top drivers.
But as far as late model, at some point you decide, I'm not going to. Did you continue on doing?
Well, it got, you know, as you went over the years, that expense got.
Right.
And if you ain't making the car isn't making the money to keep the expense up, you know, then there's something wrong.
Right.
So that's why we seen the writing on the wall. We wasn't keeping it up, so we got out of it. And then we went into dragging.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I had a 57 Chevy. I dragged. I went 13 times and brought home 12 trophies. So I'm towing the car.
Right.
And in fact, I think it was Buddha or somebody. He wore glasses. I can't remember what his name was. He says, "Can I ride with you?" I said, "You have to ride in the bed of the truck, or you can ride in the race car." He said, "I'd like to ride the race car," and I'm pulling this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I ran 65, 70 mile an hour, and then these pipes come up and they were kind of tilted back. And at that speed, the blue flames was coming out the exhaust about that far. And you could see the reflection of his glasses in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I could see. When we did get home, he says, "I don't want to ride there no more." I said, "I told you to ride the back." It's a few dirty ones, but
Anybody you care to name?
no.
Let me ask your name then. Let me ask your name then. We keep hearing the name Tom Dill. Is that would he be on your list?
He was.
You would least want to have on your tail, if you're on the final lap of the final race, the guy you wouldn't want to have there, and virtually everybody. Well, who would you think?
Tom Dill would be one because he'd give you a little push.